Good morning and welcome to Climate Matters, your monthly sustainability radio show brought to you by the City of Santa Fe. I'm your host, Neil Denton, and for this month's show, we're going to be talking about the Solarize Santa Fe program that was just completed. For that discussion, I'm joined by Lisa Randall, Sustainability Program Coordinator at Santa Fe Public Schools. Good morning, Lisa.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. So let's jump right into talking about the Solarize program. I was really happy the way it went and everything we did in Santa Fe Public Schools. So what did you think of it?
Well, I just think it was such a great opportunity that, it aligns with what we do as a district, and to offer something that resonates with our employees and that supports some of their goals around sustainability and offers some financial assistance with meeting those goals. It's just fantastic. And the board was thrilled. And so, tell us a little bit more about it. What is the Solarize Santa Fe program, Neil?
Yeah, Solarize Santa Fe is a solar energy bulk purchasing program. Let me explain that a little bit. Basically, we bring together hundreds of households that apply for discounts in solar energy. And then we at the City of Santa Fe and some program partners selected a solar installer through an RFP process, request for proposals. So solar installers were asked to provide information on the discounts they could provide if we brought 10 households to them. If we brought 25 households to them, there was an even larger discount. And then if we got over 25, they would give us the largest discount. So basically here, the City of Santa Fe, we want more people to go solar. So this was a good program to lower the cost, help more homeowners go solar, and bolster the economy and get more work for the solar installers. It's a win-win, and people were able to see some significant savings through this program. We recognize, looking at the data, that it's predominantly wealthier white Americans who are installing solar panels on their roof. And when we launched this last year, we really wanted to be careful to make sure that we were reaching a diverse audience and that more people could see the benefits of this kind of program. That's one reason it was really great to work with Santa Fe Public Schools and do some targeted marketing there, because your workforce, the teachers and the staff, the bus drivers, cafeteria workers, everyone who works for Santa Fe Public Schools generally reflect the demographics of Santa Fe as a whole. So it's a good microcosm to make sure you're reaching a diverse audience and not just reaching people who read the newspaper or people who listen to a certain radio station.
Yeah, that's really on point. I think that's a great assessment.
Yeah, and we so we sent out emails to the teachers and the staff asking them to sign up for the program. And it wasn't just sign up and get these discounts. I mean, part of the service is what I called a solar concierge service. I was available to help people understand the challenges and nuances of going solar, because it can get pretty challenging, especially as you start looking into equipment and learning more about solar panels and their efficiency and the warranty and so on and so forth. So another value that this program brought forward was through that RFP process I mentioned, we did evaluate the equipment and the warranty quality, the inverter quality, because we want people to be able to afford solar, but we don't want it to be at the expense of the quality of the equipment.
Right.
So we made sure we selected an installer who happened to be Sol Luna Solar. By the way, I should mention them. They've been great to work with through this program.
Yeah, great local company.
Yeah, they out of northern New Mexico. They do a lot of work here in Santa Fe, and we took a look at their equipment, and they were using what are called Tier 1 solar panels. Made sure that people aren't getting low quality equipment. And ultimately, we got 39 households going solar program from last September to this March. It was a limited time offer, so want to make sure everyone listening knows that the application period has closed. I think we'll talk in a little while about plans to continue it, but 39 households are now going solar, putting solar on their rooftop. Those installations are happening as we speak and will be happening over the next couple of months. That amounts to 140 kilowatts of solar going up. For those of you who can't translate kilowatts into meaningful numbers, that's a 10% increase in solar permits here at the city. So,
Yeah.
So we really changed the situation here in terms of doing something about the climate change that we're all very concerned.
Yep, absolutely. That's fantastic. I mean, those are great numbers, especially for, the first phase of a program. And how many of those were Santa Fe Public School employees, Neil?
Well, it really speaks to the demand there is for this kind of program. As I mentioned, we did marketing specifically within Santa Fe Public Schools, and half of the applicants were from Santa Fe Public Schools. So that means half of them just heard about it from friends. We didn't make much noise about this program outside of Santa Fe Public Schools. So, the number that were actually within Santa Fe Public Schools, give me a second. I think it was around 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wish that number was higher, but I did get a lot of calls from people within Santa Fe Public Schools.
Yep.
And
well, and some of the calls were from employees who lived in the county too, and so
right.
They were interested, but they just weren't city dwellers, so they weren't.
Good point. Yeah, I did get a lot of inquiries from people outside of city limits, and had to tell them, unfortunately, since this is a city program, it is important that we're helping city taxpayers with this program. And at that point, I referred them to the county's Solarize program, where they help people figure out the cost of going solar and provide the same service of understanding the nuances and the challenges. And you can call the Santa Fe County Sustainability Office for some help if you're within Santa Fe County but outside of Santa Fe city limits.
Yeah. We did have a nice launch of the program over at Nina Otero Community School, which is one of Santa Fe Public Schools' solar schools. That school is about 35% solar powered, which is pretty great. And the kids spoke, and the mayor came out, and President Noble and the superintendent all came out to support the program, which I thought was pretty fantastic.
That was really great. That day in that parking lot, it felt really good, especially having the kids there talking about their concerns about the environment while we're launching a program to do something about it.
That's right.
Move the needle some.
Yep.
And there was a good turnout underneath the solar carport there at Nina Otero. So that felt really good last September when we kicked this thing off. And as soon as we started accepting applications, they came streaming in. We got a total of 174 people interested. So it was very popular.
Yep. Well, Neil, where did the idea come from? Like, how did this come about?
It's a good question. I wasn't just sitting around one day and dreaming up this idea. It is a model that other cities have led before. And I was fortunate enough to be able to learn from the way they've done it. And I really couldn't have done this without the support of an organization called RMI. They used to be known as the Rocky Mountain Institute. They're now doing a lot of work internationally, so they just go by the letters RMI. Yeah.
Great organization.
Yeah, they're a nonprofit out of Golden, Colorado. You can think of them like a think tank. They do a lot of research and write papers on best practices related to climate action. And they have this Renewables Accelerator program where they're helping people like myself and local governments really advance action to do something about climate change. So a couple years ago, this was, in the peak COVID quarantine times, I got an invite to participate in what's called a peer learning cohort, where they would teach me how to develop an inclusive Solarize campaign. The focus on the word inclusive there being to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion with the program. Yeah. And so I participated in that with 22 other cities over the course of about 6 months. Once a month, we'd participate in Zoom meetings and go into breakout rooms and brainstorm ideas. And it's worth noting we're one of the smallest of those 22 other cities. These were cities like Houston and Miami and Boston and Salt Lake City. And so something that's really cool about that is the collective impact of all of these cities launching a Solarize campaign at the same time has really moved the needle all across the country. But so RMI, formerly known as the Rocky Mountain Institute, they helped me tremendously. They provided a template for the RFP. They provided an analysis of the cost per watt to help us figure out how people could see immediate savings with no upfront cost, which was really the goal of this program. And it's important to note, to reach that goal, we did have a private donor who brought forward $50,000 that was allocated to lower income individuals, people who
That's
make
incredible. That's incredible. Yeah.
Through our partners at the Sierra Club, they were able to bring in this funding to offer a subsidy to people who really need it the most. And people who make less than 80% of the median income here qualified for that, and they were able to get $5,000 off the price of their solar energy system. So
wow.
As a result, for some smaller solar energy systems, people were looking at $4,000 for the total cost. And that's before tax credits, which if you have tax liability, 26% of that is eligible for a federal tax credit, and another 10% is eligible for the New Mexico tax credit. So you add those in, and talking about a couple $1,000s for a solar energy system that's going to be on your roof for 30 years, and your electric bills are going to go away.
That's amazing. I mean, that really truly is. That whole statement you just made is almost worth repeating, just like, because there's so much to consider, as you said earlier, in terms of what kind of system do I need, what quality of system is best to choose. You've got people knocking on your door anymore trying to sell you a solar array. It's really hard as someone who's not in the industry to know how to make good choices and how to get something that is really going to serve you for many, many years to come.
Yeah, it is really hard. I think that's one of the biggest barriers for homeowners to go solar. It's another complicating thing to figure out. And yeah, you've got these salespeople, who might be giving you good information, but ultimately they want you to sign the contract to put solar on your roof. So it's really helpful to have a third party to help you understand all of that, and better understand the equipment, the solar panels, the warranties, the inverters, all of that stuff you have to figure out all of a sudden when you think about putting solar on your roof. But I should say, the solar companies are good at helping you understand that. It's just, ultimately they're motivated by profit and, selling their equipment.
Yeah. I mean, no disrespect to our local and state and national solar companies. It's just, as a consumer, it's really hard to know how to make good choices. And so to have that kind of support is pretty fantastic, as well as the economic support. I mean, that's really amazing.
Yeah, definitely. That's something we learned through this program, that it is really important to have that subsidy to help people see immediate savings with no upfront cost. Without that, you'll see savings, but really as you start to pay off your loan for the solar panels, it depends on your finances and the kind of loan you can get. But the equation is more that, once you have paid things off, then your electric bill goes away.
Right.
But, we're working hard here at the City of Santa Fe Environmental Services Division, and meeting with foundations and philanthropists to communicate these lessons learned about the subsidies, so that contributions that they want to make to clean energy can go farther to help people offset that price differential of what they need, that from the cost of the system, where maybe their loan payments are going to be a little bit more than their electric bill, to getting those substantially lower than the electric bill, so that people are seeing household savings, as opposed to maybe doing something like awarding grants for people to install solar energy systems, 100% of the cost covered. The money can go a lot further if you're helping people with just a substantial reduction in utility bills.
Yep. Is RMI collecting that data? I mean, are they asking you these kind of questions and asking you, who signed up, how many, income levels, any of that kind of demographic data that makes the program even better next time?
Yes, they've been with me having monthly meetings the whole time, and asking me for that data. They did a demographic analysis for me by census tract, and so yeah, let's pull up the cumulative impacts of the program. So as I mentioned, we were one of 22 local governments that were across 15 states in this program, and overall it led to 650 contracts in the country, totaling over 5,650 kilowatts of residential solar, and 26% of those are for low to moderate income households.
That's fantastic. And then these are homeowners, right? This program was just for homeowners, is that correct?
It is only for homeowners. When it comes to installing equipment on a roof, and then credit unions offering financing, and all of those elements, it is really important that the person is a homeowner. So if you're a renter, it would have to be your landlord who would be making the decision, which is somewhere between difficult and impossible to navigate.
Are there any recommendations or any strategies for renters other than appeal to the best nature of your landowner?
Yeah, we're really happy. We've kind of had some limitations up until recently for renters to access the benefits of solar energy, but now, as of this last legislative session, the state of New Mexico is now allowing what are called community solar developments. The way that works is there's a big utility scale solar development, maybe outside of town. It doesn't have to be right outside of town, but just somewhere in the PNM service area. And renters can subscribe to that, and then they'll see the credits for that on their electric bill. The rulemaking is underway, so the people who are listening, you can't do that right now. The state is working on the rulemaking, but it'll actually be complete next week. So this is all happening very quickly. And so after that, private developers and others will start building the community solar arrays. So it'll be some time before people can subscribe. But wishful thinking, around this time next year, people will be able to sign up for community solar arrays. And the way the act reads here in New Mexico is that 30% of those subscriptions have to go to low to moderate income households.
Fantastic. That's great.
And the idea is that the price per kilowatt hour will be less than your electric bill.
Fingers crossed, because that's what you see each month. I mean, I think we can all believe in the long-term impact and the environmental impact, but it does make a difference, the size of the check you're writing each month.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. We're all struggling. We say low to moderate income households, and when we're trying to help people, and especially and it's really hard for low income households here in Santa Fe. But what I'm trying to say, I feel like moderate income households kind of get overlooked sometimes, but it's hard just getting by month to month, bill to bill. So we all need a helping hand, and that's something that this Solarize program did. I do want to clarify that it was for all applicants, regardless of income. We tried to make sure that people who have less income in the household could see these benefits and get these subsidies, but everyone was able to access the discounts by participating in the program.
That's fantastic. And do you know off the top of your head what the definition is of a low to moderate income household? Like, what are those numbers?
Well, it varies according to the amount of people in your household.
Okay.
Of course. So let's just say a two-person household. Let me get you some good numbers.
Okay.
So I don't just guess.
Put you right on the spot there.
Yeah, it's a good thing I'm at my computer, so I don't have to just totally guess. All right, so for a two-person household, that was $46,750. So about $47,000. Anything less than that qualified for the subsidy. For a
Okay.
four-person household, we're talking about $58,000.
Wow. Yeah.
Those numbers are the 80% of median income, and we're using HUD's numbers.
Okay.
US
So those are
Housing
federal numbers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they update it every year for federal affordable housing programs and other such programs that you need to be income qualified for.
Yeah. Well, what are next steps? What's the future? Are you going to do this again, or
That's
do
the
you
big
know yet?
question. This was anytime cities like ourselves launch a program, step one is a pilot. So
Yeah.
this was our pilot. We wanted to kind of keep it small to learn some lessons. If there were any needs for improvement, then it wasn't as big of a deal. And we're really excited to help establish a Santa Fe Clean Energy Fund. We've been talking to some partners in the Coalition for Sustainable Communities New Mexico that helped us do this pilot program about creating a clean energy fund, which can be thought of like a green bank. It's not an FDIC institution. It's not a bank. It's not a credit union. It's a nonprofit organization that funnels dollars from foundations and from lenders, and it's kind of a one-stop shop to help people access those subsidies like we're talking about, along with a lower interest loan for clean energy in the home. Could be out of business. It doesn't have to necessarily be residential. In apartments, it could help with community solar, like we've talked about. And we're as I mentioned, we're working with partners, and we hope that this Clean Energy Fund will be able to scale up Solarize Santa Fe later this year and offer it community-wide, so that it's not just for this target market that we did within Santa Fe Public Schools, and more people can see the benefits of it. They're able to learn from what we've done, access a template of our RFP, and continue to have support from the city of Santa Fe. There are creative ways that we can support. One's called a loan loss reserve, where we can help a credit union offer better loan terms, where in case of defaults on those loans, they can pull money from the loan loss reserve to encourage them to take on some lending products that they're not used to, and offer loans for solar energy, and potentially loans to more people who may have lower credit scores and things like that, or maybe their debt to income ratio isn't that good. So that's one way that the city can help, by just with that loan loss reserve, working that out with credit unions, and ultimately I'd like to see us help get this clean energy fund off the ground, maybe with some of these federal funds that are coming our way, but that's yet to be determined.
Man, it's so important that fund, for a variety of reasons, but I know, there's so many things that homeowners would like to do, but you just don't have that credit. You can't break in and break through without the credit that allows you to do some of these really progressive things that people believe in. And so, that's just a great model. And do you have any idea when the Clean Energy Fund, might be viable?
They're very much exploratory conversations right now. Our partner with the Coalition for Sustainable Communities New Mexico is also the chair of the Santa Fe Community Foundation. So there's a possibility there that the Community Foundation may be interested in helping build it. And if that comes to fruition, then, I'd like to see that happen by this fall. It would be great if something can happen by this fall. We launched this program in September of last year. So this upcoming September would be the anniversary. That would be great if something was in place by then.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to do this. I'm working on building it up, but somewhere between plan C and D, maybe we just do it again.
Yeah.
with Santa Fe Public Schools if plans A and B don't work out. Because
Well,
it did move the needle so much. I promise you, I'm not going to let it go away. There
yeah,
will be some form of it coming back,
right. Absolutely.
especially when so much work that went into it to date. It doesn't have to be repeated,
Yeah.
so it won't be as hard to do it again.
Yeah. Well, and you have success stories. I think it's so much easier when you can connect people, people who are thinking about taking part, but they're not really sure. And you can connect them with people who have taken part, and you have success stories to share rather than just a great idea and honest, this is going to work. You actually have people who've done it and can
Yeah.
kind of testify.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're planning on getting some video soon of these installations so that we've captured what's happening before it's all over.
Yeah.
And yeah, look forward to being able to share those with the media and anyone else who's interested. We'll post it on our Facebook and YouTube page. And
That'll be great.
if the news media is listening, we'd love for it to be covered on the evening news.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned lessons learned. Are there some that you can share with us?
Well, one big one is we started off this program where people should get an energy efficiency audit first. And then the idea was that they would learn ways to reduce their energy use and implement those energy efficiency improvements in a way where they wouldn't be oversizing their solar energy system. In my opinion, it ended up being a little bit too clunky. There were too many moving parts, too much to do. And for things to be successful, whether it's a business or a project, you really want it to be streamlined and straightforward. So, that was one lesson we learned early on. We decided to eliminate the energy efficiency component. It's really important to consider energy efficiency in the home.
Right, for sure.
We're focusing on that separately from the Solarize program here on out. Another thing to point out, just to be for people to be mindful of, is you have your tax credit that's going to come when you do your taxes next year. So when you're working out your solar financing, you're not going to be able to get a loan at the moment you need to go solar with that 26% from the federal government and 10% from the state, 36%. We actually worked with a credit union who was who we met with early on about the Solarize Santa Fe program, and they started offering some new loan products. The Northern New Mexico Public School Employees Federal Credit Union, for which all the Santa Fe Public Schools employees are eligible for membership.
Right.
They were able to finance that up front, just recognizing when people reach the point of doing their taxes, they may have to adjust their payments. A lot of credit unions don't do that. And so the lesson I learned is that it is really important, if you're trying to reach that point of immediate savings, no upfront cost, then you have to be able to finance that tax credit, or it's not going to pencil out here in Santa Fe. The prices you can get for solar energy are different in other cities, but here in Santa Fe, that's you need to be able to finance that tax credit, and that's part of our ongoing discussions. I mentioned the loan loss reserve earlier, but the work that we're doing with credit unions to help them better understand just some good options for solar financing and energy efficiency financing. We've had some national partners helping us with that. There's this group of credit unions called Inclusive, and they train lending officers at credit unions in diversity, equity, and inclusion practices, and they do a lot of work around solar energy. So they've been a great partner in this to date.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it sounds like you really were able to bring in a lot of great partners, and I think it's evidenced by the success of the program. I know we're reaching the end of our time, and it's just really been a pleasure to talk with you, and it was a pleasure to work with you. Again, we want to extend our gratitude for piloting this with Santa Fe Public School employees, and also just share some thanks from the superintendent and the Board of Education and our employees, because This matters to all of us. Every one of us who goes solar is a benefit to all of us and the planet and our kids. And that's what we're all about, is kids and their future. So we just appreciate your work. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And I'm really grateful to the Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Education and the superintendent and you for helping me make this so successful. If you don't recall, doing this with Santa Fe Public Schools came from a meeting where you and I had together, and the bright idea came up. So it's great to see it come to fruition here. And that's it for our show. Thanks for joining me, Lisa. Lisa is the Sustainability Program Coordinator with Santa Fe Public Schools. I'm the Sustainability Officer with the City of Santa Fe, Neil Denton, and this has been Climate Matters. We air every fourth Wednesday, 8:30 to 9, Suave Radio. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.